Being John, and today I wanted to talk to you about some of the cultural differences between the United States and Cameroon, Africa, where I was a teacher for 2 years. First, I wanted to look at the overall social structure between the two countries. In the United States, of course, in my opinion, I think we tend to think of ourselves as more independent, and we want to be very self-reliant. Maybe we know our neighbors, and sometimes we don't. I live in an apartment, and I don't know any of my neighbors. Also, we like to drive our own cars, and it's very common to be driving somewhere just by yourself. Only one person in the car. Also, we have this concept of personal space. This is my personal space, and we really don't like people invading that personal space. And sometimes we just have a need for privacy. We want to be alone. Cameroon, on the other hand, is very group-oriented. They have a concept of the more people, the merrier. They rely on their friends and neighbors for safety and survival. They would rarely, if ever, if someone does have a car, they would rarely just drive somewhere by themselves because so many people, they would take their family or their friends would also want to go. So you rarely go somewhere just by yourself. There's also no concept of personal space, and you get very little privacy. There's usually always some people around, and they don't feel that it's healthy to spend very much time alone. So I thought that was very interesting. Another way the social structure differs is time. You know, here in the United States, we're very conscious of the time. In fact, we have a saying, time is money. Our lives are ruled by clocks and watches, and we have our appointments and our meetings. We want to stick to our schedule, and so it's very organized by time. In Cameroon, however, they also have a saying, and they say time is elastic. You can stretch it out, stretch it back, do whatever you want. And so there's a less reliance on time. And I suppose it goes back to the group-oriented mentality because you need time to develop personal relationships and time to greet people properly and not just say, hi, when you're passing by them. You need to stop and talk and develop those relationships. The only time clock that I can think of that they use is nature. They're very close to nature. And I can give you an example of that. I was a teacher in Cameroon, and class was supposed to start on a specific date. And I went to the school, and there was nobody there. And then it started to rain. And a student came and told me, there are no classes yet. It's still raining. It's still the rainy season, and people are still planting on their farms. And students will not come back to school until the planting season has finished. So nature was very important to that. And another type of alarm clock from nature, you could say, was the rooster crowing in the morning to wake everyone up. And that's really what I used to wake up in the morning. And one other difference were displaying emotions. Here in the U.S., really in public, we think we should be unemotional, show no emotions, or be pleasantly happy, not too excited one way or the other. Also, in our stores, we have this concept of customer service, being professional and being very polite, and we want good service and fast, again, with time, fast, polite, courteous. courteous service. But in Cameroon, it was very different. You could be very emotional. You could be loud, be angry, you could be sad, you could be happy. And you were expected to, if you were angry, you were expected to get over it very quickly. But you could still be angry and people would just say, well, that's how he's feeling right now. So it wasn't a big deal. And there was absolutely no concept of customer service. If they liked you and treated you well, great. If they looked at you and didn't like you and you got terrible service, you really didn't have much of a choice. So there wasn't the sense of customer service that we have here. Here in the U.S., if we're waiting on service, we wait in a structured line. But in Cameroon, people pile in a group, spread out in a group, and everyone is yelling. And they say the person who yells the loudest gets served first. And the reason for that is they feel that if a person is yelling very loudly, then they must really need help a lot. So they look for those visual clues that way. Anyway, those are just a few ways in which our cultures differ, and I hope you enjoy hearing about Cameroon and Africa. Bye.